Happy week of Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. I am hoping that you guys get to do something nice this week, even though your Thanksgiving things will probably be small. I know that I'm probably just going to have me and my kids and my friend for our Thanksgiving. But whatever you do, I hope that you stay safe and get whatever food it is that you most like. I know that my 5-year-old wants eggs and ketchup. He wants eggs and ketchup with apple slices and chicken nuggets. Easy enough, right? So I know that my favorite tradition actually on Thanksgiving is that I love to watch Elf with my kids after Thanksgiving dinner. And then I like to put up my tree, my Christmas tree, because we celebrate Christmas the day after Christmas. So we'll have plenty of time for that because everything's probably going to be closed. And in the spirit of Christmas coming, I bought this shirt for me and my brothers to wear to our family Christmas party, but now there's not going to be one. And then I also thought, oh my gosh, I can wear it like to the school Christmas party. I can wear it the day before school, before Christmas. And now I won't be able to do that either. So today I wore my Ain't Nothing But a Christmas Party shirt, and I'm sharing it with you because I love this shirt and I will not let it go to waste. All right, so today you are going to be writing an ode to your community. For most of you, that will probably be an ode to Toledo. Okay? Let's take a look at what we're doing today. Let me put this in present mode. All right, so an ode to your city. Here we have our lovely city, the skyline of Toledo on the Maumee River. You got the Martin Luther King Bridge over here, the OI building, and all these other tall things that I don't remember the names of all of them specifically, and some smokestacks and docks, and there's delicious food down there that most of us probably can't afford to eat, but it's delicious food on the docks. I love the seafood on the docks. What do you love? All right. So our essential questions for today. Two of them. The first is, even if your community is not perfect, what are the qualities of your community that deserve praise? No community is perfect, right? Last week, we looked at the poem Chicago, we looked at the song Empire State of Mind, and we saw that the writers of those texts felt as if there was something to be super excited about in these cities, even though there were drawbacks. And I think that sometimes those imperfections are part of what makes a city great or a community of any kind, right? So that's the first essential question. Even if your community is not perfect, what are the qualities of your community that deserve praise? The second is, how can you use poetry to pay homage to your community? Okay, homage is when you show respect or honor or praise for something. So over here, I put a picture of the Fifth Third Bank building. And the reason I put that there is because that building actually has special meaning to me. When it was originally built, it was built for Owens, Illinois. It was called the OI building for years when I was growing up. And so my connection to that is that my maternal grandfather was a glazer. He grew up on the east side. He grew up right next door to Raymer School on Raymer Boulevard, and he went to Waite High School. If any of you know who Gloria Steinem is, the famous feminist, she was in my grandfather's class at Waite High School. So I kind of have like that 1 degree or 2 degrees of separation from a famous person. Anyway, my grandpa didn't graduate. He went until he was a sophomore, and like many people did back in those days, he followed his father into his trade. So they were glazers. They're the guys who put glass in buildings. So when the OI building was being built, my grandfather was the foreman on that job, which meant that he was the head glazer who was in charge of making sure that all of the other glazers put the glass into this building appropriately. And when I was little, he used to tell me stories about how he would sit out on these beams or sit on that, what is that? the catwalk that goes over Summit Street there, where Imagination Station is, that he would like sit on things like that and look down over the city while he was eating his lunch out of his lunchbox. And my grandpa was like not afraid of heights. It was crazy amazing. So every time I see this building, the Fifth Third building, it reminds me of my grandpa. Maybe I would put something like that in a poem if I were writing one. All right, so your objective today. I can write an ode to my community that uses personification, metaphor, and simile, and has a specific identifiable theme. These are all things that we talked about last week more than once, okay? If you cannot remember what personification, metaphor, simile, and theme mean, you need to go back to last week's assignments and redo them, or at least look at the slides, okay? None of these are new to you. An ode, again, is a kind of poem, usually praising something. A famous example is John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn. Apparently, Keats was really into urns. An urn is like a receptacle that you put ashes into after somebody dies, or other things. But yeah. So anyway, it's a form of lyric poetry. It expresses emotion, and it's usually addressed to a thing or a person, and it expresses what the speaker believes to be fantastic and awesome about that particular thing or person. Now, I'll be honest with you, you're not 100% going to be writing an ode, because technically an ode would have very like strict rhyme and meter. Like it would have a rhyme scheme. It would have specific meter. Like Empire State of Mind has rhyme and meter because it's a rap, or most of it's a rap, not all of it. But Chicago did not. Chicago was free verse. So I'm not going to require you to have any specific rhyme or meter, like beats per line, but you are free to do that if you want. I am simplifying the idea. I merely want you to write a poem that praises something. Okay? This, by the way, over here, this picture today, this is the LaSalle building. It was originally a department store. If you've been downtown, you know that now it's like upscale, fancy apartments. And, you know, when they first made it into apartments, they were actually really cheap because at the time, nobody wanted to live downtown. And now it's like cool and chic to live downtown. So now they cost like probably more than my rent for my house. But they're super cool apartments. That's the LaSalle building. So on last week's episode of English 1, we looked at two poems, Chicago by Carl Sandburg and Empire State of Mind by Alicia Keys and Jay-Z. And we remember from our Friday lesson that both of those poems had themes of praise. So even while the writers acknowledged that Chicago and New York City, you know, life there wasn't always rainbows and roses, you know, there were downfalls or sometimes little sordid things, you know, about those cities, that they still had pride in those communities and they had hope for the future of those communities. That these were, in spite of all of their shortcomings, amazing cities with amazing people. So I want you to follow in their footsteps for today's assignment. Obviously, this is the I-280 bridge over the Maumee River, which did not exist when I was younger. Some of you may not remember life without this. Probably none of you remember life without this bridge, but it wasn't always there. We always used what we called the high-level bridge, which is technically like the Anthony Wayne Bridge. We always used that when we were going to my great-grandma's house over on the east side when I was a kid. So that's the bridge that I'm most familiar with. All right, so activity, write an ode to Toledo. So today you will write a poem in the spirit of Chicago and Empire State of Mind. All right? And, you know, I wanted to put lots of pictures of, like, cool things from Toledo. Like, you have, like, happy people watching Muddy the Mud Hen here. You know, they're, like, smiling at him and taking pictures. And here you have the Willis Boyer. I don't know if you've ever been on that boat, but it's a museum, and it's really cool. And this is, like, this fantastic, overly saturated picture where the sky isn't really that blue, but still it's a cool picture. And then the Toledo Botanical Gardens have like these really neat sculptures and stuff. And I just want to kind of jog your mind of, what are some of the neat things that we really have here in the city. So here are the guidelines. Your poem does not have to have strict rhyme or meter, but it has to have the following. This is what you're being graded on. 1, it has to have a clear, identifiable theme. What do you want the reader to know about our community? Oops, go back. You must have a clear, identifiable theme. Okay? Obviously, we don't outright state a theme in literature. We don't say the theme of this poem is. I'm not asking you to do that. I just want you to remember that at the end of the story here, when your reader is done reading your poem, they understand what you want the reader to know about your community. 2, you must use all 3 of the following literary devices at least once each in your poem. Personification, like you saw in Chicago. Okay, the city is personified. It is referred to as you, as if it is a living thing. So you need to have at least one example of personification. You need at least one metaphor, a comparison of 2 unlike things, and at least one simile, a comparison of 2 unlike things that uses like or as. You can have tons of all of this if you want, okay? But the minimum requirement is you need to use each of these devices at least once. 3, while you are free to acknowledge the lesser qualities of our community, you should also pay homage to the community in some way. Homage being, again, means great respect or honor or something done to honor a person or thing. Okay? We pay homage to our ancestors and say prayers in homage to their memory. Homage. I've also heard it's pronounced homage. I wonder what the computer says.
Homage.
They pronounce the H, homage. English is such a weird language. I always said homage. All right. So back to this. You're not really writing an ode if you don't say something great about your city. Okay. So you have to have something in there that pays homage. Otherwise it's not an ode. All right. 4, your poem must be at least 10 lines long. I'm requiring this because I have to, because some of you will write 1 line and then say, I wrote a poem. And you're right, there are poems in this world that are only 1 line long, but I'm asking you to write one that is at least 10 lines. I don't care if you write 50 lines with 5 different stanzas. I don't care, okay? But you have to have at least 10 lines. And 5, use writing conventions that are appropriate to the poem. So, writing conventions, see the little asterisks here. When we talk about writing conventions, that means spelling, punctuation, capitalization, grammar. And the rules of grammar and all that, they are supposed to help make a text clear and understandable. So the audience should always be able to understand the writing without having to stop and try to figure out what you meant, okay? In poetry, and I think really beyond poetry, okay, we can play with those conventions to give a text a particular feel or a particular tone or flavor. So I'm not going to say, well, you have to have standard American English, because I don't think you should have to. I mean, if you look at Empire State of Mind, there's clearly a lot of dialect going on in there and a lot of slang and stuff, right? It's not written in standard American English, but we still understand what he means when he's rapping. It's still clear to us, all right? So when I say writing conventions that are appropriate to the poem, I mean, if you want to play with language a little bit and use a dialect or slang, something that's not standard American English, I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. In fact, I encourage it if you think that it would help give more meaning to your poem. But it has to be understandable, okay? So if you turn in something that's all crappy and riddled with a million spelling errors and I can't even figure out what you're trying to say, then yeah, I'm going to dock you points on writing conventions, okay? So some FAQs. These are things I know somebody's going to ask, okay? Frequently asked questions. First is, if I am actually from another community, can I write about that city, town, or community instead? Yes. If you're not from Toledo, you don't have to write about Toledo. Okay? I'm saying Toledo because if you go to this school, you probably live in Toledo, and chances are you've lived here a long time. But that's not true for everybody. So if you just moved here from Nashville, then write about Nashville. I don't care. Okay? As long as you're writing an ode to your community. Question 2. How will I be graded on this? There's a rubric on Google Classroom. That rubric is directly taken from these guidelines. So that's how you will be graded. How well are you following these guidelines? And where should I write and submit my poem? Good question. Okay, go to the Google Doc attached to this Google Classroom assignment, type and submit it there. So really quick, because I'm getting to my limit here. I don't like having things this long for you on Edpuzzle. I know you don't want to watch me forever. So when you are in the assignment, okay, there is an attachment here. It says an ode to my community, Google Docs. I have made a copy for each student. You're going to open it up and you're going to type it there. So see where it says type a title here? You're going to delete that and you're going to create a title for your poem. Oh, Glass City Blues. I'm just making that up, all right? Because Toledo's the Glass City. Got it? So you're going to do that, and it's going to be by Ms. Todd. Okay, please don't leave the placeholders there and just type after them, you guys. I don't know how many times I have to reiterate that. Okay, and then go ahead and then just type your poem. Want to add pictures? I don't care. Go for it. Okay, so that's it. That's your assignment for today. And tomorrow, I'm going to make things real easy on you because it's the last day before Thanksgiving break, and none of us really feel like working, right? So have fun with this, and I hope that you have a lovely week and enjoy some time off. Bye.